Hi, what's going on, guys? In this course, we're gonna take a look or cover everything about node.js. But before we dive deep in node.js, we should understand what exactly node.js is. Node.js is an open source server environment. What does it mean? As you know, by default, we can't write JavaScript code on the server side. To use or to write JavaScript code on the server side, you have to use frameworks like node.js. So, node.js enable you to write JavaScript code on the server side. And also, I should mention that the node.js is completely free and you don't have to pay anything for it, and it's going to be run on a various platform like Mac, Linux, Unix, Windows, and so on. To use Node.js is not by default in JavaScript. You have to download and install it. To download Node.js, go to its official website, which is nodejs.org/en, and it's going to guide you to this page. And on this page, we have two options for downloading node.js. They're recommended for most users and the latest feature. It didn't really matter which one you download, it's going to work for you perfectly. But I prefer to download this one. So I'm not gonna download it right now because I have already did. So after you download node.js, you have to install it. I'm not gonna show you it's installing because it's not really have anything special to. I should tell you to choose this options or write this line of code so you can perfectly install node.js. It's like a normal application that you just click on next, 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 and it's going to be installed for you. After you download and install a node.js, now you can write a JavaScript code on the server side. So to write a node.js, I'm going to use Visual Studio 4. So I have already created, you can use any code editor that you like. I just prefer Visual Studio. So I have already created a folder here called node. And in this, we're going to create a file to we can write our node.js code here. So I'm going to call it index.js. And as you see, I'm using the JS extensions, and you know that we store the normal JS file an extension of the JS. So I'm gonna press on enter. This is going to create this file for me. So here I'm gonna write some line of codes. You don't have to understand this. We'll explain what's a module or every little code that we write in a web here. I will explain it. This is just for you to get some idea what exactly node.js is. So here I'm going to declare a variable, and also I assume that you understand or you are familiar with the JavaScript. If you are not familiar with the JavaScript, it's hard for you to dive in node.js. If you're not familiar with the JavaScript, first go ahead, learn JavaScript and dive in node.js. I've already created or I have already have tutorials about JavaScript. So watch them out and then dive in node.js. So here I'm gonna declare a variable called HTTP. In this tutorial, I'm not gonna cover how to declare or what kind of variables we have in JavaScript. And in this, I'm gonna use a method called require. So what is a require? So our require method is going to use a module or access a module. You don't have to understand about the module. That's okay for now. So here I'm going to use the HTTP and create a server. To create a server, we're going to use the create server method. And in this create server method, we have a callback function. This callback function has two properties of the request and response. And the request and response, the request is going to hold all the requests which will be sent using the user, and the response is what you wanted to send according to the user request. You don't have to understand these things. I will explain in the next tutorial. So just get some idea in this tutorial. So here I'm gonna say response dot, And here we're gonna write ahead. We wanted to send an HTML file to the user. So how can we do that? We say everything is fine, which is 200. Then what we're gonna do here I'm gonna declare an object, and we're gonna say content type, and its type it's going to be text slash HTML. And using this, we're telling that we wanted to send well, open up these. Using this, we're telling that we wanted to send an HTML file, and after that we're gonna say actually we have to close this off, and here I'm gonna come and say rest, and using the end method you can send something to the user. Here I can say hello node, even though I can type HTML tag here. So I'm gonna say each one, HT or each one, and close this off. So I'm gonna say each one. So after we write this, this is a server side, and we have to listen to a port. So how can we listen to a port? We're gonna say a listen, and using the listen method we can listen to a port. So here I'm gonna listen to port 8080, and this is perfectly fine, but here we also have an optional callback function, and using this we can be aware if everything is fine. So in this case I'm going to say console.log and pass the server is running on port 8080. So that's fine, and as you see it's looking like JavaScript code, and you type the same thing with the JavaScript. We call the methods or functions as the same way we did in a JavaScript, and we also even have the console.log, and everything is looking familiar with the JavaScript. But running node.js files are not as simple as JavaScript to just save the file and go open up the file and that's going to be run for you. You have to do some stuff. So if you are using Visual Studio, here we have a menu called terminal, and go in a terminal and click on a new terminal, and this is going to open up the console for you, or that same that we're gonna use in Windows or a terminal in a Mac. So here I should type something. I'm gonna say node, and using the node here, if you wanted to run a node.js file, you have to type the node, and after that type the JavaScript or type the node to type the JavaScript file that you wanted to run. So in this case our file is index.js, so I'm gonna say index.js, and as you see here I type. If everything will be fine, I press enter, and this is going to actually we have to change this port, so I'm gonna say AT, save it, again type node.js, index.js, and as you see here it's telling me that the server is running on port 8080, and that's means that everything is fine. Now how can we see that web page? So to see that web page, we're gonna go in any browser that you use. Here I'm using the node.js. Here I'm using Chrome, and here you have to type say HTTP, and after that HTTP localhost, and after that put the port that you want to access. So for example, we want to access the port 8080 that we have declared in listen. So now that we type this, I'm gonna press enter, and this is going to open up the node.js, and these things that we send using the end method to the user. And as you see here, we have the node. So congratulations, you have created your first node.js file. And in the next tutorial, we're gonna cover what exactly the module is that we access it here. So see you in the next tutorial. Take care. Bye.